Save the city or catch your greatest enemy. You can't do both.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
You can't do both, I said.
No, I mean the other thing.
Save the city or catch your greatest enemy?
You think you're my greatest enemy?
Yes! You're obsessed with me!
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are! Who else drives you?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and we're getting a lot of information regarding the April 2021 DC solicitations. The final solicitation should actually be out by the time this video goes live, but I'm seeing something that's absolutely a trend. We knew that DC was going to start leaning more heavily on their more established money-making characters, specifically Batman. I didn't realize they were going to be leaning so heavily into Batman. I feel like it might be reaching critical mass, and here to talk with me about that is independent writer, independent editor, award-winning editor, Joe Corralo. How you doing?
I'm all right, Wes. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, Batman has always been a heavily exposed character for DC. Well, not always, but certainly since like the 80s and 90s. It's not like Batman. You always get enough Batman, but it feels like maybe we're getting a little too much. Obviously, today they announced Batman the Dark Knight from Tom Taylor. We've already got Batman James Tynion, the Dark Detective Comics from Mariko Tamaki. I got it confused with Dark Detective.
Mm-hmm.
We got Batman Black and White, the anthology book. We got Batman Underworld, the other anthology book, which I think is going to have actually ongoing stories in it. We've got a Joker story that Joker's going to Europe. We got Robin coming out, a Damian Wayne series. Obviously, we will have Nightwing. And Batman's likely to play a part in all these. We probably the next Batman. We got a new digital series for the next Batman from Future State. Is there such a thing as Batman fatigue? Can it happen?
I think a lot of people have been there, but they just keep going. Like Batman's probably going to be a part in Justice League too, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's a lot of Batman. It's he's only one man when it's Bruce, I guess. But this all makes sense now. It's like you need to have multiple Batman because there's too many for books for one guy. So this all makes sense.
There's so many multiverses now. It's an endless possibility of Batman books. I think that's what Infinite Frontier is really about. It should be, Infinite Batman. It should be the new DC slogan.
Yeah, there's so many Batman right now that they dragged out the one from like 1939 to.
We got Generations Forges even over, so we got another Batman. I forgot about that one. It's crazy how much Batman we're getting. Obviously, we kind of expect this, but I feel there's no more room for other characters right now. It kind of disappointing. Is some of the best stories that we've had coming out of DC Comics, like Hawkman and stuff like that. That series is canceled. Although we hear we're getting a JSA, but is there going to be any room for an Adam and Hawkman team up book or any of these other characters that people enjoy? You don't get to see them often enough, but it feels like we might never see it now.
Yeah, no, that's true. But on the bright side, maybe this Batman from 1939 can end up in the JSA after this generation stuff is over, so we can get some more Batman.
That would be great. Obviously, Dan Jurgens and Venditti are on that. Maybe one of them will be right in the JSA. Heck, I even forgot. You do have Deceased heavily features Batman. You got the White Knight universe.
Yep.
Certainly a Batman series. I'm tired of thinking about it.
Isn't Batcat still coming out too?
Batman, Catwoman. Yes, yeah. I forgot about that miniseries too.
And I wouldn't be shocked if Scott, Tom, or Bendis had another Bat book in their back pocket, just waiting to come out. So.
Well, yeah, they're trying to pop the numbers on their DC digital first. Obviously, Batman. They had a Batman book in there. Now the next Batman's in there.
Yeah.
Why not throw 2 or 3 more DC digital comics? It doesn't matter. It seems like who writes it, or even if it's good. If it's Batman, it sells.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I remember, God, it's almost 10 years ago now. It's probably like 9 years ago when Rob Liefeld was, fighting with people on Twitter about how, him and Snyder got into that, tiff because Rob was saying that same thing. It's like, it doesn't matter who's writing Batman. It's to a point, it's going to sell.
Yeah. The the bottom level on your Batman sales are greater than your high level your ceiling on other books. It's absolutely crazy. Now they aren't. It's not like they're just putting the worst creators ever. I was skeptical about Mariko Tamaki, but Dark Detective certainly seems promising.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jake Tynan seems like he's a proven commodity. Tom Taylor, who I'm not a big fan of as far as his Marvel work, but what he's done at DC so far has been quality, and he's written 2 Batman annuals, and they were both good.
Mm-hmm.
So they do seem to be putting some pretty decent creators on it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Oh, we're also forgetting all of the like middle grade and YA Batman books. On top of that, there Gotham High. There was the Batman like Bruce Wayne YA graphic novel. The Catwoman graphic. There's a Catwoman book.
Yes.
That's also got to be tied to Batman in some way.
Is it Batman The Adventures Continues, like the animation spinoff? Is that one still going?
I don't know. Oh, you know what? I think it is, isn't it? Or maybe it's going to keep going.
I thought it was like maybe a 5-part miniseries, so maybe it is ending. But there's going to be a sequel to that one too, right?
They'll bring that back. I mean, why not? Who doesn't love like Paul Dini and like Ty Templeton?
Absolutely. We need the Mask of the Phantasm. Well, I'm sure they did that in comic book form already.
Well, what was it? Phantasm's comic debut is Batcat, so...
That's correct. I forgot about that. It's been a while since I read that first issue. I guess it's a bi-monthly book. At least they're not pumping that one out every month.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But then who knows? Maybe they'll cancel it at issue 6 and then reboot it issue 1, so you can get 2 number 1s out of that 12 issues.
It does feel like DC is heavily leaning on some more Marvel principles as far as their business strategies, more reboots, more ancillary characters. Obviously, we saw it in the Green Lantern book, heroes with villainous origins. But I don't know. What is your thoughts on this Tom Taylor book? It actually sounds pretty exciting. I think it was Adam Kubert on art, which should be fantastic. Bruce Wayne's packing up. He's going to Europe, and I guess he's going to be assisted by someone from the Grant Morrison. Was it the Batman Incorporated days, right?
Yeah, it's either Knight or Squire. The blurb from the press release was saying so. So that should be interesting. There's definitely promise here because they normally reserve Andy Kubert with DC Batman related stuff on bigger stuff. Like what was it? He illustrated the Frank Miller, like the
Dark Knight Returns 3.
Yeah, he illustrated that. I believe he did. Was it
Batman and Son? What happened?
No,
to the Caped Crusader?
It was whatever happened to the Caped Crusader. That's it. He did that, and he did some Flashpoint Batman.
Yeah, certainly. He's worked on the character a lot. He's a great fit for Batman, especially if you want a nice, thick Batman that's beating the pulp out of people. You'll get some nice bloody scenes from Adam Kubert.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting sort of press release. I mean, the one thing here that I think is clear is that they're investing in this in a way in the hopes that it's going to be an evergreen trade. Because with the Bat books, what they seem to do is like to put out these like miniseries. They keep trying to copy that Dark Knight Returns model of like, oh, this miniseries did really well, and then it'll be evergreen in trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, they want, and, especially if you saw the sales from like 3 Jokers, like from DC on their end, I'd have been like, great. Who's another solid artist that has a fan base? Who's a rising star? Come on, let's get something together. So, they're definitely looking to push that. And this book is probably going to be one of the higher quality ones out of the other Bat books coming out, because it does reek of that, we're going to put this in trade and hardcover and make this evergreen kind of quality to it, like 3 Jokers.
Yeah, I think Adam Kubert and Riccardo Federici are on the covers, and we're seeing a Batman with a new costume. some elements from other stuff that we've seen. He's obviously got a trench coat on. He's wearing some goggles. Got like a new bat kind of symbol kind of on his chest. What do you think of the new costume?
Visually, it's nice. They keep adding things to make it impossible to actually fight people in. It's like the man's already in a big like suit. Now he's got a trench coat and God. It's like, how does he even like move around to like fight people at this point? But
everyone can hear him coming, right?
Yeah, and he's already like older, and it's harder for him to. So he's already like slower, and they're like, I know, since he's slower, let's like keep putting stuff on him to make it harder to get around, and he's just going to be a big pile of sweat, just like pouring out his boots every night. It's like, just.
It seems to be one of the things that they've learned, or I'm sure they didn't just learn it, but they're adapting from the James Tynion strategy with Batman is introduce a bunch of new stuff. They said they're going to introduce a new villain. I believe his name is Equilibrium.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And they're going to introduce some new, Batman allies over in Europe. And obviously it's worked with Punchline. It's worked with, who else we got in there? Ghostmaker.
Clown Hunter.
The Designer.
Yeah.
There's another one in there. I'm forgetting what that. Oh, Clown Hunter, yeah. So they're introducing a lot of new characters that are associated with Batman because obviously it pops the number, it pops interest in the book. The speculators come in, and I don't know. I think we're just going to be getting new Batman allies and villains, which I'm not completely opposed to. While Batman does have the greatest rogues gallery in comic book history, I'm kind of tired of the Joker.
No, I hear you. And Equilibrium. Who knows? It's possible that they're a reimagining of an older villain. Like we don't really know anything about Equilibrium yet, and that's not to be confused with Equinox, not to be confused with Count Vertigo, and other villains like that. But one of the things that stood out to me a little bit in this press release, and I am excited because I do love what Tom Taylor does at DC. It's always interesting because all of these press releases are always like, we're doing something brand new that's never been done before. And, when you read the press release, you're just kind of like, I'm pretty sure I've seen older, bigger, tired Bruce Wayne before. Possibly. Yeah, Dark Knight Returns and all the Frank Miller stuff. So it's like, pretty sure Andy Kubert's even drawn that Batman before, but okay. And it's like, and he's going to Europe and doing these things and meeting up with, Knight or Squire from Batman Incorporated. And it's like, well, I know for a fact that happened. Those kind of things happened in Grant Morrison's run because that's where that came from. And Denny O'Neil and some other writers, pre-crisis would have, Bruce in like one-shot issues, like fly to Europe and something bad happens. So it's like, I get what you're saying. I get what you're doing. I get the hype, but it's like, you kind of done at least some of this before. I'm sure there's going to be enough original stuff in here, but it's like, it's not. Yeah.
It's like in the Green Lantern book, I think one of the pitches is that the central battery is going to have burned out or been destroyed. It's like, I've read that a couple times. The central battery is always compromised. That's a classic Green Lantern story.
Sure.
It's just with new characters, I guess, this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. I think Tom Taylor does an excellent job at DC Comics. It feels like he's almost a different writer. We shall see. It is a new DC, but I don't know. You think they're leaning so heavily on Batman? Like, are they worried? Are they like, we need to pump up the sales, or they, got to get the numbers up for their corporate overlords? Or do you think it's just all part of the strategy? We know the Batman movie's coming out. We've got a new DC TV show associated with Batman. I think it's called Gotham. You got to get some hype for the character.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those sort of more basic things. Like, I don't think it's so much worrying about sales necessarily. Like, it's like yes and no. Like they want the sales high, but I think it's one of those things where they're just like, well, these books sell. Let's do more of this, and focus on that. I think there's overreach. I think there's way too much going on with this Bat stuff. I hope it doesn't hinder this book because this sounds better and more interesting than I'd say at least like half of the Bat stuff going on right now. Like this seems like the kind of thing that should get attention and warrant the attention and purchases, and depending on how it goes, warrant that evergreen trade, place in the Batman mythos. But we'll see how it goes when it comes out. I'm excited also to work on reading more Bat stuff that isn't inundated with dozens of Bat family members.
Absolutely. But I guess you do, or DC is kind of, there's a line to where there's so much Batman, even if you have a really great Tom Taylor-led Batman book, it kind of like falls under the radar. People don't even, people aren't interested in, or they don't even realize there's a new Batman book because there's so many new Batman books coming out at the same time. So you can definitely get a signal to noise ratio issue where there's so much stuff out there. And if it isn't all high quality, people are going to end up going, well, I'll wait for the next one. Yeah,
I mean, this book seems like it's designed for...
Certainly got the title.
Yeah, it's designed for that. It's designed for the, I think, more casual fans. Like this is less for your like Wednesday Warrior types or Tuesday Warriors, and more for that like buddy of yours who like kind of reads comics but not really they don't go every week or every month even, but like when you go to their place, they got like Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One,
All-Star Superman,
Hush. Maybe now they have 3 Jokers, and they're like, this is going to be their next purchase for the
Batman White Knight.
Yeah, Batman White Knight. There's like that kind of thing where it's like the more casual fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now we do know the Batman movie from Warner Brothers. It's still coming up. It's I think it's about done finishing if it hasn't finished already. That's going to be like a younger Bruce Wayne. He's a little bit greener. And obviously, honestly, the city has kind of a Seven vibe to it. Obviously, Gotham's never been a pleasant place, but it seems even more bleak. So I imagine we're going to be getting even more Batman, maybe some Year One-esque type storytelling where they're going back to the basics and, to kind of highlight maybe some of the ideas that they're playing with in the movies as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting that with the Batman Scooby-Doo book.
we are getting it with the Batman Scooby-Doo. It's obviously there's an homage to the Dark Knight Returns on that one.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be pulling from a lot of Batman Year One kind of stuff because it's supposed to be earlier in his career. So this Batman Scooby-Doo comic is probably going to tie in closer to the movie than even this Tom Taylor book we're talking about.
You might be right. Yeah. I don't know, man. At some point, you do reach critical mass and you risk overexposing the character, but obviously Batman is the flagship character. He's essentially the franchise at DC Comics, and it hasn't... Superman's, second place, but he's in a distant second place and has been for a long time. So I understand the move, but I don't know, can we get a different character?
Yeah, I mean, they're putting everything into Batman. Everyone loves, the Bat characters. They're pumping out all these books. I mean, as long as they don't do something stupid like, upset everyone by killing a beloved character like Alfred, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, or just changing Bruce Wayne, like fundamentally who he is.
Yeah.
So don't marry him. That's what you don't want to do. Do not marry him to Catwoman. That will just turn readers off.
Yeah, no, there's as long as they don't do anything like that, they should be fine.
Absolutely. So, Joe, thank you for joining me today to talk a little bit about Batman the Dark Knights and the new series from Tom Taylor, and maybe a little Bat fatigue potentially setting in the future. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we kind of wrap this up?
No, I mean, I'm with y'all on the Bat fatigue. Trust me, I am. I'm definitely going to give this a shot because I think the creative team's great, and I think they're putting in more of the effort in this. It seems like this is going to be a good one. Definitely, at minimum, going to read the first issue as soon as it comes out and hope for the best. I would probably prioritize this over some other stuff if you are experiencing Bat fatigue.
Although I am excited for Batman Underworld because I want to see Chip Zdarsky on that Batman Red Hood story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But, navigate your Bat fatigue.
Absolutely. You got to be judicious.
Yeah, but this should be something you pick up.